Hello,
Hi, Laura.
greetings.
How are you this morning?
I'm actually in a pretty good mood.
That's good. Um, so yeah, I'm just this today I'm not gonna be doing my makeup because the look that I have planned for today is actually a mask that I'm gonna be painting. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
paint a mask and yeah. So earlier this week, you and I were hanging out, talking, planning. So we have changed the name. So we are now Teen Revolt. So this is the first actual episode of Teen Revolt, and this is how things are gonna look a little different.
Yeah.
Um, and we talked about what an ideal world looks like to us. So we were talking about because I had come up with this idea because I'm also working on some jewelry. So right now I'm measuring out my chains. So we had talked about what an ideal world looks like to us just a bit, and what I had the idea came from, there's been a lot of conversations lately about police abolition and what things will be put like what the best oh this fell apart um what the best alternatives for different needs that we have are. So we started talking about that a bit. Um, yeah, let's just get right into that conversation.
Roger that. Do you want to start?
Sure. So I made kind of a list. So because because it's a conversation about you know for one thing, an ideal world, the ideal world that we were talking about, the main thing was police abolition, and because of that, when people hear that, they get very scared, because they don't really understand what that means. They don't understand that it isn't just, you know, getting rid of the cops, but replacing them with bigger, better things. And so, uh, and I think also another thing that I was thinking about was not just police, but the way that we govern people. Because I was I was thinking a lot this week about the way that people have power over other people, and I just I was I just find it very confusing and strange that we've decided that certain people have more power than other people when we all have, the same we're all the same.
Yeah.
I sorry, that was worded weirdly, but I think you get
You're
you
good.
get what I'm trying to
You're
say. I just find that really weird that we've like put certain people in power over other people. I
Yeah.
I just it doesn't make any sense to me. So one thing that I was thinking that I thought about for the for an ideal society is that I feel like nobody should have power over other people. Like I feel like everything should be community governed, should be, community led. I just
Yeah.
find it
I
very
agree.
strange that to give anybody that power is just inviting them to abuse that.
Hmm.
I mean, there
Yeah.
is no, that just does not compute in my brain.
Yeah. I agree. I feel okay. Don't get upset. So when I was thinking about like my like ideal world, if I'm being completely honest, when I started thinking about it, I couldn't really. pinpoint like what exactly I could like, or like what I would want in my ideal world, because I just feel like like I actually said to myself, like, I feel like it would be weird if there weren't like as many issues as there were today, you know? And but at the same time, like I always complain about like, like problems that are happening and like issues and like all this other type of stuff that's happening around the world, like food crises and like concentration camps, like in today's world, and like whatnot, along with like, like for example, like the ruling on Breonna Taylor that recently just
Right.
happened. Like that stuff just shouldn't be happening, you know? And I think that, but I agree though. I do think that, I personally think that capitalism needs to go.
Yep.
Capitalism needs to go.
Yeah.
Democratic socialism is the way to go.
I it's difficult to, I mean, like you were saying, it's difficult to imagine a world without all the
Yeah.
bad stuff, because I think that we are kind of taught, like, just get used to it, because that's how things are. And I think that that is why things haven't changed, I think
Yeah.
that people expect that nobody will do anything about it, and I mean, we're taught that this is how things are, that this is how things will be, should be, you know. And we're told that, that change has to be gradual, and changes over time, and is like little things, and that basically that some things just won't ever change. And I think that we don't talk enough in activist groups about alternatives and the steps to get to them. So,
Yeah.
like, we're talking about uh police abolition, and I have like this list next to me of all of these things that you know are steps towards that, and steps towards restorative justice and community uh governing, that there's they're not that complicated when you really think about the steps to get to those things. It's really not that, doesn't seem that like there's that many steps to it. It's interesting to think about, like, I don't know, it's just, we could just be doing it. Let's just do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I think that, yeah, like I agree. Like, when you were talking about like how we expect there to be like we expect the world to always be like this, and that like we don't really do anything because we expect that. It reminded me of a conversation that I recently had in my government class about like like voting, cuz it was someone was saying in my class that a lot of people don't know what's going on. And
Hmm.
that's like one of the big reasons why they're not like doing anything or like voting or like whatnot, or just like doing anything, because they don't know like what's going on right now, like about certain things in the world that are happening. And I was basically, what I said was, while I agree with that statement that there are people who don't really know what's going on, I also think that there are people who do know what's going on, but at the same time, they just expect others to change how like things are for them, or they expect
Yeah.
someone else to do it, which is how I got into like, the whole like in psychology, like the bystander effect.
Mm-hmm.
And like as an example, if people, in case people don't know, the bystander effect, as like, I'll use like a real world example. Like if somebody is like dying on the street, for example, that's very big, but if somebody is dying on the street and there's like, like, and people are saying there's like a huge crowd around them and people are like, call someone, call 911 and blah blah blah, like a lot of people don't do it because they think that someone else is going to call it, like
Right.
911 for them, and therefore they just watch and wait. But
Right.
because of that waiting and other people believing that other people are going to do it, nothing really ever happens or gets done. And so that's exactly what's like, I feel like that's kind of exactly what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Because there are people in the world who believe that the things that they want changed, like other people are going to do, like are going to help make that change for them rather than them actually participating in the fight for change.
Yeah. I definitely fall into that a lot.
Ah, sorry. I'm
What
like
happened?
I have like a metal straw and I was about to like drink my water and I banged my tooth out.
Oh God. Don't chip a tooth while we're doing this.
I didn't, don't worry. My tooth is
Um,
intact.
yeah, I definitely do that a lot where I'm like, well, somebody will do it, you know.
Yeah.
I think that that's a difficult I mean, I just think it's difficult to find the energy to be able to do the things that I, you know, wish would be done because I mean, it's just very difficult to find energy when we're constantly expected to be working and constantly expected to be doing whatever our list of tasks are. And I think that that's
Mhm.
also a thing that needs to change is that I feel like we need to have allow people to have more free time so that they're able to find passions and find energy to be able to do things, but
Yeah.
that's that's not going to happen if we still have if we still uh, live
Yeah.
in capitalism.
Yeah.
But
Oh, capitalism.
oh, capitalism. Um, yeah. Let me see. Oh, and I mean, I'm saying that from like a very privileged place, like, oh, I have too many things to do. But like, I mean, lots of people can't do those things, can't do what they want to do because they don't have food on the table. They don't have a house. They don't have a job. They don't have money, you know.
Yeah.
And that's again capitalism. Like those
Yeah. Yeah.
people should be able to have their basic needs met, and that should just be an expected. That should just happen. Like the fact that there's even debate over like whether people should be able to eat or not is uh wackadoodle. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I like just seriously don't understand the mindset of people. Like, oh lordy. Oh lordy.
Yeah. Every time I think about like homelessness, I'm like using so many stories today. Wow. I'm like thinking about like when I was in sixth grade and my teacher like asked us, like we were doing like one of those like decision things, like you go on one side if you agree and on the other side of the room if you disagree.
Right.
And so um at the time, I think there was like some like spaceship being built that was like billions of dollars or whatever to like
Oh yes.
go and explore space or whatever for like a new like home or whatever. And I just remember like disagreeing with the fact that that was like, that it was being built with like billions of dollars.
And what
And
happened with that?
yeah, so like I went on the side of like disagreeing with that, like, and because like the question was like, do you think that we should um do you think that we should use that money for something else? And like it was like go on one side if you agree with like, you know, using it for like the spaceship and like go on the other side if you like disagree with using it for like the money
Hmm.
for like the spaceship or whatever. And so when I went on this disagreeing side, like, because at the time my class, I was like one of like five girls, and then I like
What?
there was like 15 boys in that class. It was North Carolina in a charter school. It was very secluded,
What?
but you know, yeah. So, but like almost like literally almost all the boys like went on like this side of like agreeing that we should go into
Yeah,
space,
spaceship
and I
cool, spaceship cool.
well, like it was like more so on the basis that we should be exploring like other places for like habitability or whatever.
Mm-mm.
And I just remember like thinking to myself, I was like, you know, there we shouldn't be focusing on like what we're gonna do on the like other supposed planet, like that we find whenever we have a planet that we need to work on already. And I mentioned the fact that I think that we should use it. My little 12-year-old self was like, what about like solving like world hunger and the homeless, the issue with like people being homeless like in America.
Right.
Like they need resources, and we have the money to solve those problems. We just use it for that money for what we want to do, rather than focusing on other people who need that type of money,
Yeah.
to like have the same types of things that us in privileged positions do, of like having like a house, having food, having clothing, even like shelter and whatnot. And it's just like hearing like people tell you that that doesn't matter, that like finding something else. And like now that I think about it, like if there was another planet, it would probably cost money to go on the other planet. If
Right.
like whatnot, like, oh, like it's like $1,000 a ticket or whatever. And it's like that's like the most privileged thing ever. Like it's your life if you want to live $1,000 to go. And it's like if there are still people who are homeless, who are like starving, who are poor, like all that type of stuff, they're not going to have that money to go and live, like
Well,
just
that's
live
yeah, that's
somewhere else on this
exactly
hypothetical planet. And it's like, no, like we need to focus on the other people who actually need these resources, rather than us who have an abundance of them for things like, like more than we need. So it's like, yeah, but that reminded me of like that little just like a
yeah.
thing that happened in sixth grade with me. So yeah.
I'm still I'm still so confused that there was only five girls. That's very strange.
it
Um,
yeah, it was North Carolina,
I
small
didn't
small town. Same
that's very
teacher every
weird.
grade, you were with the same kids every year.
Oh, weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I was I had there was something that I was um yeah, that's I mean a more current I mean, we're currently I mean the a more a closer I mean sorry, that was a lot of I means. The idea of going to colonize space because of climate change is like a very strange thing to me. Um, and yeah, like you said, that is obviously not accessible for everyone. But I also think like, I mean, closer to right now, the same thing, the same thing on a smaller scale. I mean, not really, but something more current and less far off is that like climate change will cause will cause illnesses to become worse. There new illnesses and will cause and people the same like the treatments are only going to be accessible to wealthy people, and that's that's a very real thing that like we have to think about now is how that will affect poor people. Climate change. I mean, climate change is very connected to class, and people don't really talk about that. Everything's really connected to class, and if we just made things accessible to everybody, and I just it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to me that we have enough food to feed everyone. We have enough houses for everybody to have houses. We have all of people's needs could be met if people just stopped caring so much about money and just
Yeah.
redistributed them. It does not, understand I don't understand capitalism.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
yeah, I just don't
understand why.
understand people's obsession with like huge, enormous, almost impossible amounts of money for like
Yeah,
themselves
why do you? Oh,
specifically.
it's gross.
Like I just
That would
never
stress me
understood
out.
like that obsession because it's like why? Like
What do you? You
why
don't
do you
need that.
need so much? Like why do you like actually care so much more about yourself than other people? It's just so frustrating. And then they
Yeah.
try to like hide that behind like other stuff. And it's like, no, just say that you're selfish and narcissistic. Just say it. We don't need you to be like, yes, but there's these other blah blah blah. No, you're just selfish and narcissistic and whatnot and capitalist. Just say that you only care about yourself and the other wealthy people around you.
Right. Uh,
Like,
Daniel just commented a good point that, if everybody just stopped using money,
it's
it would
literally
mean
just trees.
nothing. It would
It's
just be
just trees.
pieces of paper.
I know, and it's just like our natural carbon filters, man, our carbon sink. Come on, it's trees. Leave the trees alone.
It's bonkers. It's bonkers.
It's whack.
Um, yeah, and I mean, connected to that, one of the things that I wrote down for what I think would be an ideal world is the idea that like because the only way to make money, to make that kind of money, is to exploit other people, but
Yeah,
like nobody would be able to do that if we just made it so that all businesses were owned by the workers, farms and corporations and everything like that. If we just handed them over, then you know that kind of exploitation and the if everybody just had an equal role in everything. I just don't understand. I still don't understand. Like, it's why I don't understand why people who are not part of the 1% agree to be part of capitalism. Like, why, why
because
would
they
you?
know that it puts them in a position of power and like having like access to immense wealth as well.
Yeah, but they're never gonna get it. So it's like
Yeah,
just sitting around agreeing to be part of something that makes it so that you have to be poor your whole life just
yeah.
just for the very very slight chance that you might make some money. Like
It's literally just a competition to see who can like get to the next number first. It's really just sick,
it's
is what it is.
grody. I don't
Who can
understand.
become the first trillionaire, the billionaire, whatever.
Mm.
It's just like annoying, and I'm just like, oh, no.
I just can't imagine having that much money. I mean, Jeff Bezos could. I think we've talked about this in a previous conversation. Like Jeff Bezos, how he could literally do like he could end world hunger, he could give everybody a house, he could end homelessness, he could give everybody PPE, but like he's just like no, I'd rather sit on my pile of money. Like that that
Yeah.
hurts my brain. I just don't I can't understand at all how any one person could how could you want to live like that? Like if I was told that I could end world hunger, end homelessness, end whatever I wanted. I could pay for uh cancer education and AIDS education and like get you know save everybody. And I was
Yeah.
just like, nah, I don't wanna. Like, how is that a thing that even you
Yeah.
would even have to think about? I don't understand
I feel like
it.
they just
And
put it at the back of their minds, if I'm being completely honest. I just feel like that's what they do. They're just like, well, if it means keeping my money, then, all, well, it ends well. Like, that's really what they probably just do. They're like, well, I have all this, like, whatever. Because I feel like a lot of people just, like, dream of, like, being rich. Because if I'm being honest,
Mhm.
like, yes, like, wealth does give you, like, a certain, like, privilege
Mhm.
that other people don't necessarily have to
Right.
like like people can have like who are rich can have like really good health care and all that other type of stuff as well, like access to
Yeah.
like certain like things that you know like other people just don't. And I think that that's probably not like one of the main thing, but I feel like a lot of people do see like being rich as like a goal in their life, or like at least having like a good amount of wealth. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's just like that shouldn't be your goal in life to like get money, because I feel like that's just an impossible dream unless you're like born into privilege or like you get lucky or whatever. But at that point, it's just like you have to understand that when you become rich, you have a big you kind of like endorse capitalism. Like that's
Yeah.
literally what you do. You just endorse capitalism and like like you said, exploiting others to like maintain your wealth and like keeping you in a position of power to like
Right.
get that wealth and whatnot. And it's just really sick.
Well, and
Like,
also somehow people don't seem to be able to recognize that somebody else having more money than you isn't just it's not just that they have that they that money isn't just people think of money in really weird ways and they don't recognize that if somebody has more money than you that like if somebody this is my brain is all over the place. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that it's not just like this big pot of money and now these people have this money and these people have this money and whatever. It's not just like this overflowing thing. It's like there's this pot of money and they took all of this and now you can only get this much. Like people
no,
don't
yeah,
seem to understand that it's one person having money means that you don't have it. Like
yeah.
they don't I
This is why
I don't
education
understand
matters. This is
all
what
of all of the people who just love Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. They just think they're so cool and inspiring. It's like those people, those people are rich because you aren't.
yeah. Oh, Elon. Mm-mm-mm.
I don't get it. I don't get it, guys.
Yeah, I just, yeah, the whole, yeah, I just, capitalism irritates me. And I feel like the fact that people just don't want to educate themselves on how capitalism directly affects them
Right.
is like a huge problem. Because it's like, because you don't know what exactly it is, or like what other certain political, like, and economic systems are, you're
Well,
allowing these people to like
yeah.
exploit you.
I mean, it's so much easier, right? Like
Yeah.
it's. I mean, it's the same thing with you know anti-maskers. Like, it's easier to just pretend this all isn't real. It's it's soothing to just be able to say la 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 la, it's not real, it's not real,
Yeah.
than to
I would just
actually.
love, honestly, anti-maskers are no, 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 no. Say, why don't you tell the families of like the like over 100,000 people that died of COVID? Why don't you tell their families that it's not real? Like I would, why don't you say that to them? Tell that to the families of the 100 over 100,000 people that died of COVID,
It's
and
just
then
so
see how real it
crazy.
is.
It's just
Like
how do you? I just don't understand how they believe that.
because
How they.
science isn't real in their minds. It's just not real. It's not correct. It may be fact, but to them, it's just hearsay.
Yep. Hmm.
Oh God.
We're
That's
sheeple. We're sheeple,
yeah, that
Melora.
yeah. Mm-mm. Oops. Yeah, that just reminds me of like the whole like the fact that like a few weeks ago when like everybody was like, y'all, like Trump knew about the virus before whatever. And I'm like, I've known that since like February or like March that he's known about the virus like since before December. And that the
Yeah.
CDC warned him that it would become a pandemic if he did not shut down the country and like, and didn't allow it to like get like here that it would like cause a pandemic if he allowed it and didn't shut down the country, and he was just like, we'll be fine, we'll be fine. And I'm just like, no, we're not fine. Like it just made me like, I don't know, I think that like for those people, I just surprised me that like I felt like people didn't know for a second that like that's like Trump like knew about this before it even became and like came up in the news.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are we like just posting about this like like 4 or 5 months into the pandemic? Like whatever, like he's known about this the whole time, like.
It's
But
crazy.
yeah, yeah, I don't.
It's just icky. I wish it wasn't real. I wish it was that easy. I wish that I could just be like, nope, fake news. But because I mean, I wonder how many of those people know that they are lying to themselves. Like I wonder how many of those people are doing it just because it's icky and uncomfortable. I'm because it is. It is so icky and uncomfortable. Like I've been under, pretty strict quarantine for God, how long has it been now? I don't even know. Like 7? No, not 7 months. That can't be right. Ah, man, since March, right?
Yeah,
God, I
I
don't
just
even.
the whole like non-mask wearing just makes me think about like people who don't have the privilege of actually having access to a mask.
Mm.
Cause like I
Well,
feel
at
like
this point, everybody has access.
no, I know, but I just feel like you know, I don't know, like in other like countries that are like like possibly like third world even. Like I just wonder how like this is affecting them and how like if
Mm.
they have access to like certain materials and stuff like that, which they probably, I don't know if they do, but
Right.
but the fact that there are people like just choosing to like not wear a mask, it's just like there are like small children who are still developing that have to wear a mask, and they do for like a very long amount of time. And it's like you can't wear a mask for like 3 minutes if you're like running out somewhere like really quickly. Like,
Have you seen those videos of anti-maskers like
yes.
getting getting in their car after having to wear a mask and like like having hissy fits like toddlers? It's like, girl, okay, sorry. Good luck with that.
Yeah, I don't
Oh
know. I've
God.
actually seen people like walk into stores with a mask on, and then as soon as they're like past the people who check to see if you have a mask, they'll like take it off.
Yeah,
I like, ugh, God, I
so
hate
gross.
Walmart, but Yeah, I hate
Oh,
Walmart, but I had to like go there for like I had to go there to find like a Father's Day gift for my stepdad like in June, and I didn't find one there. I eventually got him one, but I just remember I was like in Walmart with my mask with my mom, and like, I just saw these people who had like, who were like wearing masks, and then they just like took it off like when they were in the store, because like there were people at the front of the Walmart that would like check to see like and tell you like, no, you can't come in if you don't have a mask on. And so like, and I was like, why are you taking off your mask? I was like, y'all, make it make sense.
yeah.
Why are you taking them off as soon as you get inside? It's not that big of a deal. I mean, you wore it all the way in here, didn't you? Like, you walked from your car with your mask to go in. You wore it during that time. I mean, how long does it take? Like, how long is it going to take you to, like, get things in Walmart and then go back to your car with your mask? Like, if you can do it walking your car to going inside the Walmart, not to say home. No,
If
because that's what I'm
nurses
doing.
and doctors,
Stop. Go. Bye. Stop. I don't know why you always like to interrupt everything. Goodness. No.
oh
Anyways,
Lord.
sorry. Anyways, but I feel like it's just like if you can wear a mask from your car all the way like into a store, I feel like you can wear it inside the store for like a short amount of time. Like, like obviously you weren't annoyed with like, I don't know.
Right. Well, also, if nurses and doctors can wear them for 12-hour shifts while they wear like multiple masks and the face visors and like friggin' plastic bags, like I'm pretty sure you're gonna survive. Like,
Yeah. And
oh,
people who are
but
on like
that's fake
life,
news too.
like
That's probably fake.
along with like COVID patients who are on life support who have like tubes down their like throat,
Out
like
there
always,
butts and
like
like
I
what?
don't like
No,
literally
ma'am.
like if they can do that for basically like however long it is, long time, you can wear a mask for like 5 minutes. I'm pretty sure you can do it. It's
Oh
really not that
man.
hard. Like,
Oh
no,
no, thank you.
no, no.
I we had a comment that said, don't quote me on this, but I believe it was the Trump administration who stopped USPS from sending 5 reusable masks to each family in February to help the virus not spread. I also heard that. I didn't
Yeah, I feel like
fact
I
check
heard
that,
that
but
recently, actually. I think that was the
yeah,
first time I heard that. I wasn't sure if that was true, though, but I'm
I'm
not surprised if
I'm
that's the
fairly
case, if
certain
it
it is.
is.
I think when that uh story came out, I think I looked that up.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure it was true.
I'm
I
not
mean,
surprised if that's
yeah,
the case. Like, Trump is
who
Trump.
Trump is Trump, and there's just oh, I mean, I don't. I we've totally derailed like significantly. Okay, I've only gone through like 4 things on my list. And barely touched on them because every time we talk about something new, we somehow go somewhere else. Clean water. Everybody have clean water. More art. Those are pretty self-explanatory. Um,
Yeah. Wait, Rex, come back. Come back. Did you get my microwavable meal? No, they don't have it. They didn't have it at Walmart. Oh gosh, Walmart is so disappointing. Good Lord. I'm eating a pancake in my hand. Yes. You continue doing that elsewhere. Thank you, though. Sorry.
You're fine. Um,
I'm just so hungry. I was really looking forward to this microwavable meal. Ugh. I know, Rex. I know. It's okay. But yes, continue with your list. I'm sorry.
no, you're fine. You're fine. Um, the next thing was like less like forced education and jobs, like more things about like passion and the things that you care about, like less forcing kids to go. I mean, this like right now, it's just been proven by online education that we are in school for longer than we need to be, you know? Now
Yeah,
my
school
classes,
literally is carried with you every single day, whether you're in it or not. Literally,
oh yeah.
school is like so annoying. Like, I actually dread going to school. Before
Yeah.
I wake up, I dream of being in my bed for the whole day. When I'm on mute in Zooms, I complain about the class. And I'm like, can you please shut up and just give me the lesson? Please stop answering kids' questions. No one cares. I'm
It's
sorry, but I don't need to hear about texture for like 50 minutes in my art class. Like, oh my god.
oh my gosh. It's well, it's in at my school at least, the classes have been like half the length that they usually are. We do them, less often. Everything is it's just there's always been so much busy work. Like, when was the last time you actually learned something that stuck with you? Like, that you can still remember and like what I I don't remember what the last thing was, and I feel like kids would learn more if they had more options.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah, I just
I
feel
don't know.
like the best teachers remind me of like my mom because my mom is a college professor, not to
Um,
play favorites, but to play favorites. But like, you know, I noticed that because like one of my favorite teachers at my school, Mr. Irving, for those of you who are on here that go to Tucson High, Mr. Irving, like he reminds me, he's like a really good teacher, and I really like the way that he incorporates like, even though it's like, memorize like memory stuff, it's like the way that the reason why I remember it is because every time we go into a different unit, he like incorporates other past units that we've learned, and he
Mhm.
actually like guides like a really good dialogue about like how they're interrelated, and like, oh, like in this religion, like this is how, because I had mythology with him last year, that was
Oh,
like
that's
he
cool.
incorporated. So like we were talking a lot about like, like different like religions and like gods and goddesses and stuff like that and whatnot, and how like, like in this religion there's this representation of like blah blah blah, but in this one and there's isn't. And like we also talked like about a lot of stuff, but I remember so like many things from last year, like that he taught me in his like in my mythology class with him, because like he interacts with his students in a way that like makes you feel comfortable and like actually like talking and speaking, because it feels like, you know like home in a way. And I feel like
Yeah.
teachers who do that, who are actually about education rather than like specifically being like, memorize this for the test, are like the best teachers. Because that's
Yeah.
personally how I learn best. But I agree. The whole online thing is like ridiculous. I just can't with like actually having to be on my screen and then being like, you must turn your camera on. You must have your mic off. And I'm like, why do you need to see my face if you can see my name on the screen? I am there.
Well, in my classes, there's been kids who will just not have on their camera and they'll just like go back to bed.
I've seen people in my classes fall asleep while their camera is on,
Oh,
not
that's
giving a care in the world, just sitting there in their chair like, like doing whatever while they're on mute, and it's like bravery,
Fair
bravery,
enough.
bravery. Oh
Good for
God,
them. Good
but
for
yeah,
them.
I just get so annoyed being in my classes, like, cause I like when I'm actually like if when I was in person, like we'd be like on block days, we'd be there for like almost 2 hours in each class, and I'm just like, and now I get annoyed at the fact that I literally am just in there for only an hour or like 55 minutes or whatever, and it's
But it's
like, ugh.
it's interesting though that like they were able to so easily narrow down the time, that we go
Bro,
to school. And I'm just like, why? I just don't understand why they force us to when we're in person to be in school for so long. It seems really I mean, honestly, I think the real reason why is because, they want us to learn how to, sit and take instruction. And I mean, we're just going right back to the whole capitalism thing. Like,
yeah, it's
I
just
honestly think that a lot of it is just like how good are you at listening and doing what you're told. And
obey, obey.
yeah, and I mean, so often they talk about like getting you ready for the real world and getting you. I'm like, what are we even? Huh?
What is the real world anymore?
It's just
I
very
just love
strange
how
to
they
me.
believe that we have no social life due to COVID. Because it's like, no, I'm not out seeing people, but there are people and kids that I know who have like what who have jobs, who like
Yeah.
have to work like super long shifts. Like one of my friends, like immediately after school, like she has to go to her job and then she works for like 8 hours
Ugh.
straight. And it's like, but even so, like I also know kids who have like online jobs who like are like doing meetings like most of the time, who are also in clubs who have to like set off time to do that as well, who are like
Yeah.
doing like other things. And it's like I'm doing that stuff as well, like I don't have like a job, but I am doing like certain stuff like online, like club stuff, organization stuff, all that other things while focusing on school. Like that's literally my whole day. Anytime I take a break, I just think about like, oh Lord, I have to go back because my teachers just give me way too much work, and
I feel like there should be, I feel like within school they should give you opportunities to have, time to work on passion projects. I mean, every time I've asked somebody what is your hobby? And they're like, "Oh, I don't have one." I'm like, what? I don't understand that. And I just
there's like nothing really. I mean,
or they're just like, "I just hang out with
sleeping
friends."
is
I'm
my
like, "What?"
hobby. Sleeping in my bed is my hobby.
I get that a lot, and I'm like, "Okay, but come on now. Tell me more."
Yeah,
Um, I find that very confusing.
yeah,
There's not much I don't know. Anyway, next thing on the
yeah.
list. All right. I
Now that we've
can't talk
gone
about that
off
one
on that
anymore.
tangent.
I mean, I think most of all, I think what people need is to be part of communities, like to be able to have, you know, intimate relationships with people that they care about and be able to heal with each other and take care of each other and learn from each other, be able to create things together and support one another. And I feel like that's something that's definitely lacking. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't know. Yeah, that's de
Yeah,
definitely something that people need more of. What time is it? Let's see how much.
we have
Um,
10 minutes.
okay, for 10 minutes. We're gonna get through the whole list. We are. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Um, yeah, and also like I mean, most people I know don't have proper education on things like consent and mental health, and
Oh God, yes.
yeah, and like just
Lacking in that
holding
department.
our I mean, it's
Ugh.
there's so little that comes before the things, you know? There's little preventative measures for the bad stuff that happens in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that, we need more of. Yes. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, when you were talking about like consent, I was just gonna say like health definitely needs to be more like inclusive of like
Oh
all
yeah.
like people of different backgrounds, along with like more like sex education and like certain for like
Yeah.
certain like different like people and stuff like that. Cause like I remember when I was doing like health last like not even yeah like last summer when I was doing health like on Primavera, there is
Uh-huh.
literally nothing about like sex education at all whatsoever like
Oh
on
yeah.
during my like learning, and I feel like not even anything about like abstinence. Like there's literally nothing that mentions like like sexual health or like sex education, stuff like that. It was like they included stuff about like natural disasters, but like not that. And I'm just
That's
like,
very
why?
strange.
I was like, so me learning about hurricanes exactly affects my health how? Dying, possibly? This is how you stay alive.
In
I was like,
Arizona, where we have like so many hurricanes.
I know. I was like, if I was in Florida, which I do have family there, but if I was in Florida, maybe, like, definitely, actually, no, not maybe, definitely, with hurricane stuff, but, ugh.
It's very strange, very strange. I also think, back to the restorative justice thing, like we've talked about that previously in other
Yeah,
episodes, and we've talked about it, we talked about that a little bit at the beginning of this. When things do go wrong, there's not it it's again like what you brought up at the beginning, like there's an expectation that somebody else will hold people accountable
yeah,
when really we need to, if you know instead of supporting your buddy when they get outed as an abuser, how about you hold them accountable? How about you say, like, how about you work with them to you know make sure that they don't do that again?
yeah,
There's this very quick urge to either cut people off entirely or pretend something didn't happen. And I mean, I definitely respect people cutting people off if they don't feel safe themselves, but like if you feel safe, like I feel like that is something we need more of, is people
yeah,
who are willing to sit with people who have done bad things and hold them accountable. Like
yeah,
genuinely, I think that we need to care about everyone, even if they've done bad things. Say to them, you've done something that hurt people, you've done something awful, and you need to move from that and become a better person. And I don't think we have enough room for that, because I think we so quickly are ready to penalize people, and so quickly to just want to throw people away, and that's because we've been conditioned to believe that if somebody does something bad, you put them in jail. And we don't have many alternatives to that. We don't know. We do that within our personal relationships too.
mhm, yeah. Yeah, I think it's important to give like people chances, like to like pull them aside and be like, hey, if it's in that type of situation, like I think that it's definitely like pertinent that like people like pull others aside and say like, oh, like, hey, like I don't think that that was like okay, like what you did, and like trying to like help them change. What about
Yeah.
like people like after like they've been like rehabilitated technically, and like what if they go and do it again?
Well, I think I I think that if it's actually if you do that in personal relationships, if it's somebody that you have been, close with and that they've done something wrong and you legitimately speak with them and you legitimately work with them, like here, what are the steps that you are going to take to do better, When you
Hmm.
do those things and when I mean, if I just don't see it genuinely like reoccurring because if you've done it right and you can tell that they genuinely learned from their mistake, I just don't see that really happening. But I do think, like, I mean, part of restorative justice is involving, like, is whoever you've victimized or whatever, they having their input on what needs to happen, like if somebody hurts you, like what do you think that they need to do to make it better,
Hmm.
I don't know if that really answered your question. Sometimes I just blabber. I think we're both
Oh
aware of
no,
that.
you're fine. No, you're fine. You're totally fine. Anything else on the
um,
list?
oh yes. Mm-mm-mm-mm. We talked about most of these things. Oh, more things that I think we need to do to for an ideal world is, you know, like what I was just saying, like restorative justice, but like on a large scale, like giving back giving back land to Native American people,
Yeah.
do it
Yeah.
giving reparations to all people of color, Well, and I also think on the land thing is like just getting rid of borders fully. Like,
Hmm.
you know, it's just everything's so icky. Everything's so icky, you know? It's, I don't know. That's I have that and unions are my last things on my list. And we have 2 minutes to talk about them. Go.
Wait, wait. What were the last two things?
The last things were reparations, like returning land, and unions.
Hmm. Wait, did you say unions?
Yes,
Okay. Yes, I definitely agree with that. I
I'm sorry I'm sniffling so
with
much.
returning land and like just like getting rid of like borders, cause like I don't know, like when I think of like reservations, like I think of it like as like I'm pretty sure like weren't they like originally created to like specifically separate
Yeah,
um like Native Americans? So like I can definitely understand not like, like wanting to stay there because, like, I mean, I don't exactly know why. Like, I get that, like, that's like the bit of land and whatnot that, like, they have, obviously. I'm not, like, judging that at all because that is their right, obviously. But then I just think about like people who are like, well, why don't they want to be like a part of like whatever, blah blah blah. Like, why are they being separatists and whatnot? And I'm like, the KKK is separatist. Does anybody like want to like discuss that and how they're separatist technically, as they say on their website or whatever? Murdering, freaking. Ugh. And
I
I'm
I
like,
just I think that all of those decisions, as to
yeah.
how land be distributed and how people live their
Hmm.
lives and where they live their lives should be made by the people who have
Yeah.
been who have been wronged
Yeah.
by the
Yeah.
US. I
Exactly.
think Native Americans and